So we don't have to call the roll because we have a quorum and nobody who is a member of the commission is a remote participant. So just for the record, we have Ed, we have Jackie, we have Gail, we have Jerry, we have Kelly, and we have me. So that gives us 6 out of 9, so we're good to go. I'm just going to see whether I'm getting an email from anybody. Deb Robinson is... hey, Jim. Deb Robinson is looking for the Zoom link.
I just sent her back an email, told her to use an old one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it looks like Jeremy will not be joining us. Let's continue then. So the first order of business is that the minutes, Jeremy sent the minutes out for June 2nd. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Second.
Yeah, you're going to be the designated seconder tonight? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll skip the bills as always, and let's go to the library. Evan, can you hear us?
I can.
Good.
Thanks, Jack.
And we can hear you as well.
Okay.
So why don't you give us the update?
Sure. So I wanted to start with schedule. We are on track for our base bid work at the library, expecting to complete the end of this month, beginning of August. The additional work, the window replacement and accessibility work is scheduled to complete about the 3rd week of September. Phase 3 at the library is nearly complete, and we've had cooling activated in phase 3 for at least a couple weeks, if not more at this point. Phase 4 continues until the month's end. We have elevator work that's been ongoing and expected to complete in 1 to 2 weeks. So we'd be able to turn over use back to the library and the public before the end of the month. Masonry repairs have continued. A lot of the repointing is complete, and we have scaffolding at the exterior starting to come down as early as next week. And then whatever additional work that they need to do up high will be done off of lifts and whatnot. Skylights we had removed and replaced, and we had a pretty good gully washer last week to kind of test all of that, and good news, no leaks there, and they look really good. Our light fixtures are just about complete. I think 98 or 99% of them are are removed and installed. So the scope of work for replacement of light fixtures as part of our scope is just about done. And we have also completed the E-rate support work that was required, and those E-rate folks have continued to progress with their work, and I think they are currently in a holding pattern, something about Comcast and the Olympics. So I think that will likely pick up in August and complete sometime there. And if I can share my screen, I'll at least go through some photos of work progress and try to go through some of this fairly quickly. But what you're looking at here is the one of the new skylights, the main skylight in the lobby and all the way up to the top from the inside. some of the light fixtures that have been replaced, some of the HVAC units, terminal units. We've got some repointing that you can see here at some of the upper section underneath that cornice work. This is one of the smaller skylights that is also new and has been replaced. These are some of the metal repairs to the balconies. This is rotated 90 degrees. Some of the baluster work, and this is based on photos from a recent shop visit. So once the scaffolding is down, the balconies will get transported back to the library and installed shortly thereafter. Some work at the roof, insulating some duct work, some outside shots of the larger skylight and the smaller skylight at the older section.
Evan,
Again,
if you could go back to that for a second. We were going to have a hose test, but as it turned out, the day that they finished it, we had an enormous rainstorm that lasted for the entire afternoon, which turned out to be a much better natural test than we could have ever done with a hose. And it did not leak. Correct, Amy?
Yes, no leaks. We'll still continue to look every rainstorm. It's part of our nature now.
Sorry, Evan. Continue.
Yeah, no, that is good advice to keep up on that. So, of course, all of that work is warranted and whatnot, but it was real good to see that they seemed to get it right the first time. So again, some more repointing and cleaning work at the masonry. Some new piping on the roof to complete some of that work. Here's some work in the elevator cab, some ceiling work that's currently ongoing, as well as some work within the cab itself. Here's a shot of that original entry. This is up on the copper and with the pintles for receiving our capstone for that location. Here's some more of the fussy work that's been going on relative to elsewhere in the building. We've had drop ceilings and whatnot. So this is actually cutting open drywall ceilings and soffits to get some of this new work in, as you're seeing here. That's part of phase 4 work there. So any questions relative to photos, construction progress, or schedule update? All right.
I was just going to say, I remember some photographs of the decorative stonework up at the top. Do you have any of those available, Evan?
Decorative stonework at the top.
Yeah, stuff that we cleaned and painted.
Oh, that's the copper, I think everybody's talking about, the copper cresting.
Yeah, let me see if I can't quickly pull something up.
We have some people who've come in. Are you here for the Municipal Building Commission?
No. For the next meeting at 6 o'clock.
I'm not sure what meeting that would be.
River wetland buffers. Wetland buffers.
I was unaware that that was occurring tonight.
6 o'clock.
Okay, there may be a conflict here, but we'll continue our meeting. Yeah, go ahead, Evan.
I think this is some of the work that you were talking about, Jack.
Yeah. So
And
they've done quite a job in cleaning and repairing and repainting that.
right.
I have a question regarding one of the skylight photos, the first one that you showed. There were fans, ceiling fans. Are those fans new, or were those always there?
No, those were actually
okay.
always there. And I think it was so a lot of times, especially in taller ceiling spaces, fans are used to try to push down and better mix the air so that you don't have this kind of stratification of really hot at the top and relatively cold at the bottom. So those have been there with the old skylights and are still functioning today.
Okay, I also had another question about the piping picture on the roof.
Yeah, I had a question
Sure.
about that too.
What is that for? Is that AC piping, or I see it's kind of exposed to the elements. Is there going to be any protection for that piping?
So I believe this is pressurized. I'm not sure if that, I think because I think that this is actually refrigerant flow that would not actually need insulation on that. But Deborah, are you?
Yes, that is the refrigerant piping that goes to all of the individual ceiling and floor units.
So it's a bit different than what you might think in terms of hot or cold and needing to get insulated. This is also in progress, so I will make sure to get a photo for next time as well to see if, and we can certainly check the specs to see what else is going on. But this is not an uncommon scenario relative to rooftop piping when there are limitations down directly below.
Okay.
Don't the feed lines have to be insulated?
So again, we will, this is relatively recent, so we will check our specs as to what's required here and be able to report back. Typically, we're having both the engineer and our commissioning agent review the work once it's complete and installed and ready for review. So we have two other entities that, if there was something more that was needed there, would certainly pick up on that and make that an item of note.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the photos or the progress or the schedule? Why don't you move on to the budget update?
Yeah, so budget, a little bit of an update. Since last month, mainly in two categories. So we have two amendments to the architect's contract, one that you had seen and actually kind of voted, I think, informally to approve. This is the cost to the contractor. So it aligns with change order 4 here, which is a deduct to the construction contract and an add to the architect's contract. And then in addition to that, Amendment 7 also has to do with some monitoring for some caulking removal relative to that. So these items relative to soft costs total $84,117. So we've adjusted the soft cost contingency accordingly, subtracted that amount out of that. And then relative to other changes, change order 3 and 4 that's before you this evening and that I will go through in a minute are also added to the budget, and the construction contingency has been reduced to accommodate that. And in your budget update, basically all of these items 1, 2, 3, each one of these adjustments is detailed down below. Any questions relative?
Assuming that we approve the requests this evening, where do we stand? Because it's kind of hard for me to read this screen from this distance away. What do we have left in contingency? That's much better.
So 1.4, a little over 1.4 in hard cost construction contingency, and a little over 46,000 in soft cost contingency.
So we're still well within our
So
budget.
so we are in very good, continue to be in very good shape here.
Okay. We do need to move along because apparently this room got double booked tonight.
Okay.
For the change log, where are we?
Sure. So relative to the change log, we've got 3 items before you this evening. Change order 3, looking for approval in the amount of $24,815.35, and that is outlined up here. It's the copper flashing thimbles, history room fixture replacement, those E-rate accommodations, storm window trim, some wood trim to be able to fasten those storm windows on the end windows, flooring replacement at the staff lounge. This is a replacement that had been identified early on to relative to leaks prior to start of this contract, as well as some urn removal. And then change order 4 is that credit amount to compensate the architect in essence for the hazardous material consultant and associated pieces. And then the big item is change request number 24. This is the accessibility scope upgrades.
Before we get
We
to
previously had a plug number of 200,000. We've had additional scope once we got the a true survey of the front area. So extending walkways, replacing the plaza right at the entry door, as well as some bituminous at some of the parking spaces that the slopes were not correct on. So what we're looking for on change request number 24 is an approval with a not to exceed. We are still trying to go through a little bit of VE to see if there's something that doesn't affect the overall scope and workability that we might want to consider to reduce that cost slightly, but are looking for an approval of just shy of $380,000 for that scope. Both the architect and STV have reviewed that and believe that those numbers are in order and reasonable.
So let me go back a step. The first change order you were talking about, none of that is new. We've seen all of those things at our previous meetings update, correct?
Yes, I believe we have.
And the upcharge for the architect is offset by a credit that we're getting from the subcontractor who caused the problem by not properly disposing of the roofing materials. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So then with regard to the handicap accessibility improvements, these are things that we had an estimate for, but we didn't actually have them priced until now. They are requirements that we have no choice. We must make the handicap improvements to the library. It's the law, and we just didn't know what the number would be. We certainly have this well within our budget, even though it's $170,000 higher. But my suggestion to the group is that because this number just came out yesterday, that it may be value engineered a little bit to get it down, but they also need to get going on the work. And so I'm going to suggest to this group that we approve that change order as a not to exceed number. And in the event that Deb and Evan can get that number down a little bit, then we can replace that at the appropriate time. But we really need to get the work done before September's over. We don't want to hold the contractor up, and we're paying for general conditions to keep him on the job. So it strikes me that if Deb and Evan are giving us at least preliminary approval, we should not hold the workup.
Okay, so move to approve?
Move to approve both of those change orders?
Yes.
Does anybody have any further questions on them?
Is the not to exceed gonna be the 379 number?
Yes. Yeah. That would be change order 3 and change order 4, correct? Evan?
That's right, change order 3, change order 4, and then change request number 24.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other things that we need to do with you tonight, Evan?
Yeah, I would just like to just briefly, this is the soft cost change log. So Amendment 6, this is the one that you actually saw at the last meeting. But we had a formal, an actual formal change to amendment to the architect's contract. So looking for that, as well as Amendment 7, which is in the amount of $1,100 for standard hazardous material monitoring. We had ACM caulking at the windows, and it's the owner's responsibility to provide a hygienist to be able to deal with the paperwork on and notifications to DEP and coordinate that with the contractor. So that's an additional service of $1,100.
So what are the numbers for those BHA change orders? What, 6 and 7?
Yeah, so Amendment 6 is for $7,317, and Amendment 7 is for $1,100.
So the number 6 is the one where we're getting the offsetting credit from the subcontractor. Number 7 is the only one that's really a cost to us, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on those? All right, Jackie?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, anything else that you need to do, Evan?
I just want to be clear that both the architect and I have reviewed the requisition from Tract and recommend approval for that. And I have looked at the BH&A invoices before you this evening and recommend approval of those.
Oh, okay, good, thank you. And there's also a bill from you, which we'll take care of. Deb, do you have anything you want to add?
I do not.
Okay, then I think we can move on, and actually we can take care of the bills before we forget. So thank you, Bob and Deb and Amy and Evan and whoever else might be on for the library project. Our next meeting is August 4th, and the meeting after that is September 1st, I believe. Just so everybody could, everybody can mark their calendars. Thank you all. So is there a motion to approve all the bills, Jackie?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Right. So we took care of that. Fire department roofs. Arno, are you with us?
Hello. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. We are a little.
How are you?
Good. We're a little bit pressed for time.
Okay.
Because of a booking issue, but do you want to give us an update on where we are?
Sure. We went out and did our field investigation. We took samples of the different roof areas at the fire headquarters and at the Briggs Corner Station. We gathered information. We took a sample for hazardous material, and just in a, quickly, just to sort of give you a quick overview on the existing conditions. Some of the roofs had conventional roofing on them, meaning EPDM roofing with insulation. And there were other roof areas that had the existing, former roof that was covered over with EPDM roofing. So we'll have roof areas where we'll have to remove some built-up roofing and some additional insulation. We did find some hazardous containing material on the large roof at the fire headquarters. It's just residue from the old roof system. It's old mastic that's still attached to the concrete. That does not necessarily have to be abated. We intend to cover that with a vapor barrier, which is required by the energy code anyway. So we believe we can encapsulate any residue of that. We did also find some hazardous asbestos mastic on the Briggs station on the wall flashing between the lower roof and the upper roof. That will need to be abated because we do need to remove the flashing and raise the flashing height for the increase in insulation. And we also found the paint on the wood trim at the fire headquarters contains lead. And we had planned to remove the wood trim around the perimeter of the roof. So that's just an awareness, and the material will have to be disposed of legally. The other slight impact that we might encounter, and we're still trying to figure it out, is on the small roof, which is a wood frame structure at the fire headquarters. May need to be upgraded because of the weight, or I should say, because we're removing the roof, we're adding a bit more weight with the new roofing system. It affects the snow load, so we may have to do some structural upgrades to that roof deck. But we're still analyzing that and trying to figure out if that's actually needed. The same condition exists at the Briggs station, at the large roof area over the apparatus bay. Again, we're adding a bit more weight to the roof than what was there, which per the code, if it exceeds 5% of the existing weight of the existing roof system, then you have to analyze that roof to determine whether it can carry the new loads. So we're working through that as well. That may need to be that deck may need to be reinforced, but we're still working through that one. Just a couple other things. There's a chimney at the fire headquarters. It's abandoned. Question is whether or not to remove. It's a brick masonry chimney, I should say. The question is whether that should be completely removed, or it could be covered over with some metal, sheet metal, and just leave it in place and just relocate or reattach the antenna. What we're proposing for a new roof system is a new energy code compliant insulated membrane roof system. We're proposing 90 mil EPDM. With the 90 mil EPDM, you can get a 30-year warranty. And speaking with Mark, he is suggesting we consider putting that as an alternate, and we could do a 60 mil reinforced EPDM membrane roof system. That would be slightly less in cost. It's roughly about a 60 cents per square foot difference. And you've got about 12,600 square feet total between the two sites. So the 90 mil we could put out as an alternate. The more significant issue that we're encountering right now is, I don't know if everybody has heard, but we're facing some material shortages in the building industry, and in particular, roofing materials. And the materials that we're speaking of are the polyiso-cyanide insulation that would be used in the roof system. as well as roof fasteners and some of the adhesives. We're getting feedback. There's 6 months lead time on this material from the factory to the job site. There are some roofing projects that are going on presently, but those are because those projects were bought, last year and early in the winter. Other projects are going on because some of the supply houses still have enough membrane and insulation in their warehouses. By the time this goes to bid and is ready for construction, there's a potential that there won't be materials available to do this roof this year. So there's also a significant cost increase that's currently being experienced. And because of the shortages. So we'll have to have some discussions on timing of the bidding process. With that, open it up to any questions you might have.
We had a schedule, which I don't have in front of me, when your design documents were supposed to be done, and we could have a fuller presentation on that. When would that likely be?
Well, we have a DD set ready. Would you like to?
Well, we are unfortunately pressed for time because this room
That's
is double.
That's why I rushed through that.
So,
But we did have just to let you know quickly, we were going to have the documents finalized on July 14th. And then the bid documents out to bid on July 22nd.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest that, given what you've said, that I'm wondering if we should defer those decisions and a fuller presentation until our meeting on August 4th, especially if you're telling us that it's not like, with the increase in cost and the unavailability of materials, I don't know that we should rush this out to the street. So,
I mean, I think what you're gonna find is that you're gonna get some high bids, and then you're gonna lock somebody in who can't perform the job, so.
So why don't we tell you to keep working, but let's have a fuller presentation when the room isn't double booked on August 4th, because under the circumstances, it sounds like we would probably be making a mistake by putting this out to bid. That be your advice?
That would be my advice, yes, yeah.
And I'd like to have Mark Zawatsky available to us as well, who, there he is. Mark, did you hear what we just were talking about?
Yes, sir. I've been here the entire time. Mark
Good.
Zawatsky, Port Construction Consulting, and I'm the construction consultant on this project, working with Arno. I know time is short, so I listened to Arno's presentation. He had 5 of my 7 points. So that is a topic for this commission to undertake, as to whether or not we want to put it out on the street in accordance with our original schedule this summer, see what comes back. Arno has his independent third-party cost estimating service has estimated a $35,000 savings by doing it this fall. A premium by doing the project this fall as opposed to waiting until next spring. The issue or matter at hand would be, what is in fact the cost of waiting? We don't know what materials are going to cost next spring. We don't know what damage will occur over the course of the winter, because both of these buildings are leaking significantly. So I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. We shouldn't rush this decision, but I would suggest to you that we have a special meeting on the 21st of July, if possible, in order to attend to these issues. As I have reviewed the schematic design and design development details, he's very close to having construction documents, and I think a decision sooner than later would be beneficial to the city.
All right, July 21st work for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, then I will contact Jeremy about scheduling a meeting on July 21st, and Arno will communicate with you and Mark with you, and we will take this matter up fully on the 21st when we have the time to consider all of the issues.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So thank you. I don't know that we have any other business to accomplish, and I know we need to get out of here. So let me suggest then, thank you, Arno, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Excuse me, a motion to adjourn at
So
6:00,
moved.
whatever it is.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Is our next meeting, the